Hey guys, Josh here. Welcome back to the All Out Safaris podcast, your go-to podcast for all things safari. With me today is Shelby.
Hello.
Today is a bit of a Q&A where we're going to be answering some of your frequently asked questions and questions that guys often send us privately as well. So we're going to get straight into it. So there's a few questions that have to do with the various destinations we travel to, photography, and just some general safari questions. So we're going to get straight into it.
The first question is, should you use a prime lens or a zoom lens for wildlife photography? And what is actually the best focal length?
So it's a very controversial topic, if I'm honest, amongst photographers, because it very much depends on the genre of your photography. A lot of, let's say, wedding photographers will say a zoom lens, or real estate photographers or property photographers would say zoom lens. But as a wildlife photographer, it obviously comes down to destination, because if something is usually quite close, so if you're in a private game reserve, a zoom lens that can give you that bit of range when something's close, where you can zoom out, is valuable. But generally, from a quality of image perspective, and the experience of taking all of those great images, a prime is probably the best way to go. They are about 7 to 8 times the price. So there are downsides and cons to a prime lens. Like, let's say you've got a 400 millimeter and you've got something 5 meters from you, it can be too close. So prime lens is definitely probably the best. So I've used a 300mm 2.8 in the Kruger about a year back, and it was fantastic. It really was great. Prime lenses are also 5 times as sharp as a zoom lens, and they are generally better in low light. They have a faster autofocus system, but they also can be quite heavy. The newer prime lenses that have come out in the past probably 2 years are a lot lighter, but from a quality perspective, you can never go wrong with a prime. Then in terms of what focal length is best, it really depends on how close your subject is going to be. So if you're in a place where your subject's going to be close, something like a 70 to 200 or a 100 to 400 is great. For a destination like the Kruger, I would say anything around 400 and upwards can be very beneficial. But if you are wanting sort of wider angle shots, something like a 100 to 400, 200 to 600 will be great. But I think you generally will need at least 400 mils. So we're going to just rotate between questions. So my next question is for Shelby, which is, what is your favorite destination?
It has to probably be the Kruger region. I'm unfortunately not there as often as what you are, but I think in terms of just the absolute variety of what you can see and just the vastness of the Kruger region, it's so massive that you can probably spend 3 weeks there easily. Going from south to north or north to south and just having an absolute ball. And then for you, what is your favorite destination?
Definitely the Kruger, more specifically the south of the Kruger, just because of the amount of time I've spent there. I've got to know it very well, and it's where I've grown up going to the Kruger. It's where I've really grown in the knowledge of the various animals. So Kruger, but the whole Kruger region is great for the exact reasons that you said. But I just love the south of the park. Just the density of animals is just spectacular. But then I'll ask you, what is your favorite sighting of all time?
Well, I don't really have one favorite. I actually have sort of 4 that I can think of. The first one that I sort of experienced as one of my favorite was a male leopard that was right at the Munyani gate at the Pilansberg. He was on a warthog kill in a marula tree. What made it one of my favorites is because it was sort of one of the first photographs where I actually got of a leopard, and he was looking right in my lens. And it was one of those, as I arrived, I leant over the car, like I was in the driver's seat, so I'm like leaning over to the left, the passenger seat with this big heavy lens, and I took a photo and he looked right in my lens. And then also while I was sitting waiting, I could hear him like crunching on the bones. Another favorite is definitely when I found a female leopard, also again in the Pilansberg. I was just driving down one of the roads, and as I looked to my right, I sort of saw this thing in the tree, but it was not quite a tree, it was more like a bush. And then I don't know what made me sort of stop, reverse, and have a look through my binoculars. But when I checked through my binoculars, I was like, oh my word, there's a leopard in this tree. So I spent a couple of hours with her. She came down out of the tree, walked behind my car. She slowly sort of made her way, and then I probably was looking for some water or something, but it was just a really cool sighting because I was also by myself. Another favorite is this, like one of the most recent trips that I did. I found a male leopard in the tree, literally also it's similar to this female leopard a number of years ago now. But it was similar in that I was driving, and as I looked to my right, I looked up a tree and I saw 4 paws hanging off the branch.
Yeah.
And obviously the paws were attached to some nice spots. So I was like, oh, leopard, amazing. Yeah. So yeah, just stop, reverse, and again, the only person at the sighting. And the last one that I can think of is also one of the more recent ones. It was actually the same trip, was 2 leopards were actually mating. And I've never experienced this before where I actually hear them making a noise, because unfortunately I've actually never experienced a leopard sawing before, or even making any kind of noise. So for those who don't know what sawing is, it's basically like a leopard. Could I call it a roar?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of a roar. It's a territorial.
Yeah, it's like a call of sorts. But it's called sawing because it sounds like a saw, like you're cutting down a tree. Or one of your manual ones.
Yeah, manual saw, not a chainsaw.
Not a chainsaw, just one of those manual ones. So I've never heard leopards sort of calling in nature before. So this was a really cool experience for me, that they were off in the bush, couldn't see them, but I could hear them. And it was a really interesting sort of dynamic to have this mating pair of leopards. And then I've actually just thought of a 5th favorite, but this has probably got to be my all-time favorite and most memorable sighting. So you will see the footage, I'm sure, on our pages, Instagram and Facebook. It's a leopard called Khosatsana. She's quite a young female leopard in the Pilansberg at the moment. She had been seen quite actively for a couple of days. So when we got there, we sort of I couldn't say track her, but we try to be in the same area as what she's been seen in the past couple of days. And it seems that her movements were pretty much exactly the same every day. She'd pop out on this set of rocks across the road from her den. And so it's normally about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had tried to look for her, and we went and patiently sat and waited. And eventually we sort of started going up and down the road at 5 o'clock. We saw her standing as large as life on this dead tree. Unmistakable, white silhouette. The last sun rays of the day. And so we tried to track her after she climbed down the tree. We couldn't actually see her, but then she popped out exactly where she was seen for the past couple of days on that set of rocks, and that's where I got the most amazing footage. It's probably the best footage I have ever taken of any animal, any sighting that I've ever had in the many years that I've been going
your best
to the
photos,
bush.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Your best photos, yeah.
And I managed to get an amazing video because she sat there posing for us like she just knows she owns that area.
Yeah.
So that was definitely my most favorite of all time and most memorable. And then same question to you. What is your most favorite sighting of all time?
Yeah, I think that's basically an impossible question to answer. I think anybody who's been going to the bush for more than, I mean, literally even 5 years, so let alone, the over 10 years we've both been going, you could never choose one. There's a few that come to mind. One particularly from Madikwe, one cheetah sighting that really stands out as a photographer. We found these two male cheetahs early in the afternoon. They were actually lying by one of the staff bathrooms at one of the gates into the reserve. And we came back a bit later to try and find them, and they'd gone. So we tracked them and found them. And by the time we found them, the light was amazing, and it's winter light as well. So that brilliant bright orange flares from the last light was amazing. And they kept on climbing up termite mounds a few meters from our vehicle, walked past the vehicle quite a few times. And we spent a good hour and a half with them. And the photos were really amazing, and that was an amazing sighting. There's a few from the Kruger that stand out. One was last year. Well, both of these two sightings I'll mention were on the same afternoon. So the first one was a female leopard known as the Rocky Ridge female. A lot of people who know the sort of Skukuza area will know who she is. She's a very famous leopard from there, and she had a very small cub in a tree, and we found her that morning, and we spent about 3 or 4 hours with her. And then there were hyenas under the tree, and they posed, and they were growling and snarling at the hyenas, and it was really amazing sighting. And then we basically spent the whole day there. We sort of moved around a bit, went, got lunch, came back, and then on the way back to camp, we found as we came around the corner, we found an amazing female leopard walking down the road. And that was great. It was just us, and then an elephant popped out into the road behind it, and they both walked towards us. So the footage was really great, and the photos came out really, really nicely. And that video kind of went viral on Facebook. It got just over 3 million views. I don't know, it's been posted for a couple of months now, but that was a really memorable sighting. There's quite a few. Last year we had a female leopard, so these guests wanted to see a leopard hunt, and it was our last afternoon. And we found a leopard called Zintaba, which is actually the Rocky Ridge female's daughter. And she nearly caught a steenbok about 5 meters from the vehicle. That was great. And then the last one I'll mention, the reason it was cool is 2 years prior, we found the same female leopard. She's called Aranyani. She's in the Malalan area. And we found her in this marula tree a few years prior. And then last year, we came across her in the same tree, and it had actually been pushed down now by an elephant. And this was an amazing sighting photographically. Like, she was in the open on a dead tree. So a lot of people want to see a leopard on like a fallen over tree. It's like a very sort of iconic thing, I suppose you can say. But those are definitely sightings that stand out.
Just a question I wanted to ask you, though, just sort of popped in my mind was, why do we actually know leopards and lions by their names? Why do they even have names?
Yeah, so that's actually a question we get asked often, but completely slipped my mind. It's literally for research purposes. So a lot of people will come to us and say, these aren't your pets, why are you naming them, and stuff like that. It's literally just research. It's for identification purposes, so we can monitor how many leopards and lions, or which lions are in which areas. It makes it easier for us to find them, and it also makes it easy for us to identify which leopards are which, so you can say how many are here, how many are there, and they are identified by the spots under their whiskers. It's called a whisker spot pattern, and then every leopard is unique in their rosettes, not spots. Cheetahs have spots, but that's literally the only reason. It makes it easy to know which leopards you're seeing and which leopards are where. Also helps you know who is the mother or father of this leopard that may be, a cub that we find. And it just helps us with knowing, especially in future generations, where does this leopard get its genetics from. And the same with lions, especially male lions. That's a massive thing. So yeah, that's quite a crucial part in actually the research behind all these animals. But I'm going to throw a question at you now is, what is one destination that you haven't been to, which you would love to go to?
Again, not just one. I can think of 3. So One place I'd love to go to in quite the near future is the Kalahari. Another one is Tswalu, and then probably Lower Zambezi,
Yeah.
which I know you would love to go to. So then I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah, so Lower Zambezi is probably number one at the moment. It's always been between that, or recently has been between that and the Pantanal in Brazil for the jaguars. We haven't been there yet, haven't been to Lower Zambezi yet. But again, as a photographer, that's a massive part of why. If you just look with the forests in Lower Zambezi, the light that comes through those forests, and just the scenes that you get to see, even if it's not as a photographer, it's so unique. It's not like the Kruger Park or the Pilanesberg or Madikwe. It's that part of Southern Africa, that sort of Zimbabwe, Zambia area. It's got these forests with these massive anna trees, which lets through the most unbelievable light, and it's almost mystical. That's just how the place feels. And then the Pantanal in Brazil, being on a boat on the river, watching jaguars, catching caimans, and seeing all of the unique wildlife on that side of the world is just right up there. But then another question is, what is the most misunderstood animal?
So we are actually going to do an episode soon, so please make sure to tune in on that. We're going to talk about the most misunderstood African animals, but we'll talk about the hyenas, wild dogs, elephants, even male lions, the snakes of South Africa, even Southern Africa. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So I'm not going to talk too much about it right now, but for us, those are the most misunderstood animals.
Yeah.
Then for you, what is the most underrated destination?
Madikwe. It's a place that, it's in the northwest corner of South Africa. It's not, a place that's, I guess, frequently visited compared to a lot of the destinations. But I think, like we mentioned in our first episode, the How to Plan Your Safari episode, it's a place like no other. It's a combination of so many different habitats, and it's not the biggest reserve. It's like double the size of Pilanesberg. It's 75,000 hectares. It's a combination of, rocky outcrops, open savannas, thick marula belts. It's a really great destination. And even as a photographer, it's really just unique. And you go far east into Madikwe, it's now semi-arid desert. So, you have the chance of seeing a lot rarer animals there as well, like your aardvark and your aardwolf. It's really just I guess, overlooked destination, and it's got so much to offer that a lot of people miss out on. Then the next question is, do you need a camera to come on a safari?
No, you don't. But we're actually a bit different to most operators in that we can actually lend you one for the duration of your trip. But if we're honest, about most of our people that come on safari with us don't even, bother with a camera. They just use their phone camera, which is also quite all right, because sometimes, even when I'm on safari, I just use my cell phone sometimes. So after I have taken a few pictures, sure, but let's say the animal's now going to cross the road in front of you, you would then probably switch to your cell phone camera, because then at least you can also carry on being in the moment. But no, you don't actually need a camera to come on safari.
Yeah.
But us, as all our safaris, can actually lend you one, because we have a few.
Yeah.
My question to you: how do you become a safari guide?
So it is a bit of a process. It's not difficult. It's not a hard process. So the first thing you've got to look at is finding company who can do your qualifications, who you can do your qualifications with. So I did mine with Nature Guide Training, which was with Lee Guttridge. A lot of guys will know Lee. There's plenty of companies out there. You've got Eco Training and Bushwise. Those are sort of higher or more well-known companies, or more bigger companies, and it's usually, the courses can be anywhere from 60 days up to a year. Usually you can choose, and that will give you your level 1, and then from there you will be an apprentice field guide. You can get experience at a lodge. From there, you will get towards your level 2 once you've got your all of the hours in. So you've got a logbook where you fill in your hours. Then once that is done, you are now a level 1 field guide. Then from there, you are now able to do your level 2, and you'll get all your certificates that you need. You are, prior to your qualifications, you're going to need things like first aid certificates and things like that. You will also need to get a professional driver's license. You just go through a few, I guess, health exams and things like that, and you do that. That allows you to carry paying passengers. That's what the license allows you to do, and it's really as simple as that. From there, you can get placed at lodges, and you can just go higher and higher in your qualifications. It's not the hardest of things to actually do. It can be quite expensive, but it's really as simple as that. So you're going to do it through the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, which is FAGASA. You can find everything you need to know from FAGASA. Then one of the other most asked questions we get is, what is a safari essential?
Well, for us, it would be binoculars. You would actually be surprised at how many people don't think to bring one. And the reason that we say it's an essential is because it just really enhances the experience. For me, I always describe it like this, that when I put my binoculars on, the rest of the world melts away, and it's just me and the animal. It's actually quite a difficult thing to describe, but that's how I've always felt. But not only that, it enhances the experience by actually just making things a lot easier for you, because not all the time are animals right next to the vehicle or next to the road or just in the tree right there. Sometimes it's a little bit further off, and in order for you to be able to actually catch a nice glimpse of that animal, putting on your binoculars, great. It just makes it so much easier.
But then another question for you. Are there any other destinations that we are going to start hosting at, in addition to the tours we already do?
Yes, absolutely. And so many areas. So extending in South Africa, we plan to host at Nambiti. It's a private game reserve in the KZN area, as well as Zimanga, also in the KZN area. We plan to sort of look at Tiger Canyon in the Free State area, and then going further up to Southern Africa, we're looking at going to Kalahari, which actually borders, like, some of the park is in South Africa and some is in Botswana. So we're looking at that area, and then we're going to definitely look at Lower Zambezi and South Luangwa in Zambia, the Okavango Delta and Chobe in Botswana, Maniples and Hwangi in Zimbabwe. And then, we'll eventually also look at Etosha and the Sossusvlei in Namibia. We also plan on hosting normal tours in areas such as the Drakensberg and Golden Gate. And then we'll eventually look at the Western Cape. So we'll do something like the Garden Route, etc. Okay, then our sort of last question. If you could choose one destination to go to forever, where would it be? Obviously in South Africa.
Probably the Kruger area. It's got basically everything. I think the only thing it doesn't have which is brown hyena. That's one of the only things you don't really have in Kruger. It's really got everything. The whole of the Kruger area, it's massive. I think with the greater Kruger, it becomes over 3 million hectares. It's bigger than Wales. It's enormous. If you were to just travel the whole of the Kruger, you'd experience basically every animal you can imagine. If you were to spend just your time in just that destination, you couldn't go wrong. And then for you?
Yeah, for me it's exactly the same. The Kruger as well. And it's one of the most popular national parks in South Africa, and for good reason. Because as you've just mentioned, the variety and just the vastness. So definitely, if I had to go there repeatedly, forever, for the rest of my life, definitely the Kruger.
So yeah, that's it though. That's all of our questions that we've been sent or get frequently asked. So thank you to all who do ask all of these questions. But if you guys do have any other questions, you can drop them in the comments, or you can just let us know and we'll be happy to answer them. And if you have any other topics you'd like us to address on the podcast or even in our blog, we'd also be happy to do that. So you can just drop that in the comments. But if you do want to find out more about us, you can check out our website, alloutsafaris.com. The links to all of our social media and our website are in the description below. But I think for now, that's it. So yeah, take care.
We'll see you next time. Looking forward to it.